My father looked at me with that familiar, condescending smirk and said, "We're not going to take care of everything for you, Jessica." I had just asked if I could temporarily move back home after my apartment flooded and the insurance company was dragging their feet. This after I'd loaned them $73,000 to save their restaurant and covered my mother's medical expenses when their insurance lapsed. So I smiled back and said 10 words that would change everything. "Perfect. Then I need you to repay your loan." The color drained from his face. He had completely forgotten. Or maybe he'd convinced himself it didn't count. But I hadn't forgotten. And I was about to remind him in a way he'd never forget. This is where everything begins. And trust me, you won't want to miss a single moment. Make sure you're subscribed because this journey is going to be intense. Before we dive in, I'm curious, where in the world are you watching from today? Drop your location in the comments. I love seeing our global community come together around these stories. The email from my landlord was clinical in its brutality. Due to extensive water damage from the burst pipe in Unit 4B, your apartment is uninhabitable for the next 60-90 days. We recommend securing alternative housing immediately. I stared at the message on my phone. Sitting in the lobby of the building I could no longer enter. A hastily packed duffel bag at my feet, containing whatever I'd managed to grab before they evacuated us. It was Tuesday morning. I was supposed to be at work in an hour, preparing for a crucial presentation to a potential client. Instead, I was homeless, my belongings either waterlogged or locked behind yellow caution tape. The hotel voucher the building management offered would cover 3 nights. After that, I was on my own while they sorted out the insurance claims and repairs. I was 36 years old, a senior architect at Patterson & Associates, pulling in a decent salary. But I was also a single mother to 10-year-old Lily, who was currently at school, blissfully unaware that we no longer had a home to return to. Her father, my ex-husband Brian, had moved to Seattle 2 years ago for work and saw her during summers and holidays. He paid child support religiously, but he wasn't an option for emergency housing across the country. My savings, which should have been comfortable, had taken a massive hit 4 years ago. That's when everything with my parents' restaurant happened. That's when I made the decision that led to this moment. But I'm getting ahead of myself. I scrolled through my contacts, my thumb hovering over Mom and Dad. The anxiety that flooded through me was familiar, a Pavlovian response I'd developed over years of being the responsible daughter, the fixer, the one who held everything together while being made to feel like a burden for existing. But this was temporary. This was reasonable. They had a 4-bedroom house in the suburbs, and my old room was still set up as a guest room. Lily and I could stay there for 2 months while the apartment was repaired. We'd be quiet, helpful, contribute to groceries. This wasn't like before. This wasn't asking for money. This was family helping family in an emergency. I called. My mother answered on the 3rd ring. "Jessica? Sweetie, I'm at my book club. Can I call you back?" Her voice had that slightly annoyed edge, the one that said I was interrupting something important. "Mom, I need to talk to you and Dad. It's urgent. Can I come by tonight after I pick up Lily from school?" There was a pause. I could hear women chattering in the background, the clink of glasses. "Tonight's not great. Your father has his poker game, and I have my pottery class after book club. What's this about?" I took a deep breath. The apartment flooded. We can't stay there for at least 2 months. I need to know if Lily and I can stay with you while they fix it. The silence stretched. Oh my. Well, that's... Let me talk to your father and call you back." "When?" I pressed, feeling the first flutter of panic. "Mom, I need to figure this out today. The hotel voucher runs out on Friday." "I'll call you back in an hour," she said, and hung up before I could respond. I sat in that lobby for 3 hours. I called my office, explained the situation, and my boss, thankfully understanding, told me to take the day to sort things out. I called Lily's school to let them know I'd be picking her up early. I started researching extended stay hotels and their monthly rates, feeling my stomach clench at the numbers. My mother finally called back at 2:30. "Jessica, we talked about it. Your father and we don't think it's a good idea for you to move back home." "What? Why not?" "Well, We've worked very hard to get to this point in our lives where we have our own space and routine. We're not really set up for a child in the house anymore. Your father needs his quiet for his blood pressure, and I have my commitments. We're not going to take care of everything for you, sweetie. You're a grown woman with a good job. You'll figure something out. The words hit like a physical blow. Not going to take care of everything for you. As if I'd been asking them for constant support. As if I'd been a burden my entire adult life. As if 4 years ago hadn't happened. Mom, I said, my voice shaking, I'm not asking you to take care of me. I'm asking for a place to sleep for 2 months while my apartment is repaired. I'd pay rent if you wanted. I'd buy groceries. This is an emergency. We're just not comfortable with it, she said firmly. I'm sorry, but you'll have to make other arrangements. Maybe Brian can help, or one of your friends. Brian lives in Seattle, and Mom, I stopped myself, the words catching in my throat. 4 years ago. The restaurant. The $73,000. The promises that were made and never kept. I have to go, she said. My pottery class starts in 20 minutes. Good luck, sweetie. I'm sure you'll figure it out. You always do. She hung up. I sat there, phone in hand, and something inside me shifted. The anxious, accommodating daughter who'd picked up the phone disappeared. In her place was someone colder, someone who'd been pushed too far, someone who suddenly remembered very clearly that 4 years ago, I had saved my parents from financial ruin, and they had never, not once, paid me back a single cent. I opened my laptop. My first search was for family loan recovery attorney. My second was for promissory note enforcement. My third was for statute of limitations on personal loans. Within an hour, I had consultations scheduled with 3 law firms. One name kept appearing in the reviews and recommendations. Marcus Webb, an attorney who specialized in contract disputes and family financial cases. His consultation fee was reasonable, and his success rate was impressive. I sent him an email with everything I had. The original loan documents my parents had signed. The payment plan they'd agreed to. The bank transfer receipts showing the $73,000 I'd wired to their business account. The text messages and emails where my father had repeatedly promised, "We'll pay you back as soon as the restaurant turns around." His response came within 2 hours. "Ms. Brennan, I've reviewed your documents. You have an ironclad case. This is a clear breach of contract. I'd like to schedule a call first thing tomorrow morning. Based on what I'm seeing, we can pursue immediate legal action for full repayment plus interest." I felt something I hadn't felt in hours. Not despair, not panic, but cold, focused determination. I called Brian. Despite our divorce being messy, we'd found our way to a decent co-parenting relationship. "I need you to take Lily for the next 2 weeks," I said. "I'll fly her out to you this weekend. I'll cover the ticket. I have something I need to handle here." "Jess, what's going on? Are you okay?" His concern was genuine, which was one of the reasons we'd managed to stay civil. "I will be," I said. "I just need to take care of some family business. Can you do it?" "Of course. You know I'm always happy to have more time with Lily. But seriously, if you need help, I've got it handled," I said. "I'll call you with the flight details." That night, I checked into a cheap extended stay hotel with Lily. I made it an adventure for her. Room service, hotel pool, like a vacation. She was delighted. She had no idea her mother was planning to declare war on her own parents. I didn't sleep much, but when I did, I didn't dream of flooded apartments or homelessness. I dreamed of the look on my father's face when he realized what was coming. To understand why I could do what I was about to do, you need to understand the history. You need to understand who I was before I became the family bank. And you need to understand exactly how my parents managed to take $73,000 from me and convince themselves they never had to pay it back. I was always the achiever. Jessica the perfectionist. Jessica the one with her life together. My younger brother Tyler was the creative one, the free spirit, the one who needed understanding and support for his artistic temperament. I was the one who was supposed to be fine on her own. Growing up, Tyler could do no wrong. When he dropped out of art school after 1 semester to find himself in Thailand, it was brave. When I changed my major from pre-law to architecture because I realized I was more passionate about design, I was being flighty and irresponsible. When Tyler came back from Thailand, broke and moved into their basement, it was temporary, and he needed their support. When I asked to borrow their second car for a week while mine was in the shop during college, I got a lecture about responsibility and independence. I graduated with honors. I landed a good job. I married Brian, who was stable and successful. We had Lily. I thought I'd finally built something separate from my family's dysfunction. A life where I was valued for who I was, not just what I could provide. But money has a way of pulling you back in. It started 5 years ago. My father's dream, the Riverside Grill, was drowning in debt. He'd opened it 15 years earlier with money from his early retirement package from the factory where he'd worked for 30 years. It had been successful for a while, known locally for good steaks and river views. But new competition, rising costs, and my father's stubborn refusal to adapt to changing dining trends had slowly strangled it. By the time they came to me, they were 2 months from losing everything. The bank had called in their business loan. Suppliers were demanding cash on delivery. The restaurant that had been my father's pride and joy was circling the drain. My mother called me crying. "Your father hasn't slept in 3 days. He won't admit it, but I think he's having chest pains from the stress. If we lose the restaurant, I don't know what it'll do to him. It's his entire identity." "Jessica, I know it's a lot to ask, but do you have any way to help us? I just received a settlement from a car accident the year before. Not my fault. A drunk driver had rear-ended me at a red light, causing injuries that required surgery and months of physical therapy. The settlement was $73,000 after legal fees. It was supposed to be my safety net, my down payment on a bigger house, my security. Tyler, predictably, had nothing to contribute. He was between projects, living in their basement, working occasional shifts at a coffee shop. But I had the money, and my mother was begging. So I did what I always did. I fixed it. But this time, I was smarter. I didn't just hand over the money. I hired a lawyer and drew up a proper loan agreement. My parents would receive $73,000 to pay off their immediate debts and stabilize the restaurant. They would repay it over 5 years at a low interest rate, starting 18 months after the transfer to give them time to recover. Monthly payments of $1,350, starting in month 19. My father signed it without hesitation. He was effusive in his gratitude. "Jessica, you're saving our lives. I don't know how to thank you. I promise you, we will pay back every cent. The Riverside is going to turn around, and you'll be the first person we repay. I swear on my life." My mother cried and called me her miracle. Even Tyler mumbled something about it being really cool of me. I transferred the money the next day. $73,000, gone from my account, into theirs. I told Brian it was a business investment, that we'd get returns. He wasn't thrilled, but he trusted me. "Your family," he'd said. "You know them better than I do." The restaurant did stabilize. With the immediate pressure off, my father was able to negotiate better terms with suppliers, do some needed renovations, and adjust the menu. For about a year, things looked promising. They weren't making huge profits, but they were staying afloat. Then the 18-month grace period ended. Payment 1 was due, $1,350, transferred to my account by the 1st of the month. It never came. I called my father. "Dad, just wanted to remind you that the first loan payment is due today." "Oh, right," he said, sounding distracted. "Yeah, things are tight this month. We had an unexpected equipment breakdown. Can we skip this one and start next month?" I hesitated. "Dad, we signed a contract." I know. But family helps family, right? "We'll get you next month, I promise. 2 payments. Against my better judgment, I agreed. Next month came. No payment. I called again. "Jessica, you have to understand. The restaurant business is unpredictable. We're doing our best. Can you give us a little grace here? We're your parents, not some bank." That became the pattern. Excuses, promises, delays. After 6 months of nothing, I hired the original lawyer who'd drawn up the contract to send a formal demand letter. My parents responded with outrage. My father called me, furious. You're sending lawyers after your own parents? Over money? What happened to family? What happened to helping each other? This is how you treat us after we raised you? Dad, we have a contract. You signed it. You promised to pay. I promised I'd try, he said. I'm trying. But things are hard. If you force this, you'll destroy the restaurant. You'll destroy us. Is that what you want? My mother got on the phone, her voice trembling. Jessica, please, don't do this. We're struggling as it is. Your father's health can't take this stress. Can't you just forgive the loan? You have a good job. You don't need the money like we do. That was 4 years ago. I never pursued legal action. The shame of it, the guilt they'd laden me with, the fear of being branded the ungrateful daughter who destroyed her parents. It paralyzed me. I let it go. I told myself maybe they really couldn't afford it. Maybe I was being unreasonable. Maybe asking for repayment made me greedy. Brian and I divorced 2 years ago, unrelated to the money, but the financial stress didn't help. And now here I was, literally homeless, asking for basic temporary shelter, being told they weren't going to take care of everything for me. They'd forgotten about the $73,000. Or they'd rewritten history so thoroughly in their minds that it didn't count anymore. But I hadn't forgotten, and I was done being reasonable. The consultation with Marcus Webb happened at 9 a.m. the next morning. I sat in a hotel room while Lily watched cartoons in the other bed, and Marcus walked me through everything on a video call. Ms. Brennan, he began, his voice professional and direct. Your documentation is exceptional. The signed promissory note, the clear payment schedule, the written acknowledgement of the debt. This is as solid as it gets. The statute of limitations hasn't run because payments were due as recently as 3 years ago, and the contract is still active. What are my options? I asked. We file a breach of contract lawsuit. We sue for the full principal amount, $73,000, plus the agreed-upon interest which has been accruing. Additionally, we can seek compound interest on the missed payments, and we can request the court award you legal fees. Total exposure for your parents would be approximately $95,000. I felt my breath catch. They don't have that kind of money. Then they'll be forced to liquidate assets. The restaurant, their house, retirement accounts. The court will determine what's reasonable. But Ms. Brennan, understand this. They signed a legal contract. They took your money. They're obligated to repay it. The fact that they're your parents doesn't nullify the contract. How much will this cost me? He quoted a retainer and his hourly rate. It was steep, but he offered a contingency structure. I'd pay a reduced retainer now, and he'd take a percentage of whatever was recovered. Given my situation, it was the only option. One more thing, Marcus said. If we're doing this, we should move fast. Based on what you've told me about their current refusal to help you, I want to file before they have time to hide assets or create complications. I recommend we send the demand letter tomorrow and file the lawsuit by end of week if they don't immediately agree to a payment plan. Do it, I said. Send the letter tomorrow. I signed the retainer agreement that afternoon. Marcus drafted the demand letter that evening. It was delivered via certified mail and email the next morning at 8 a.m., ensuring they couldn't claim they never received it. The letter was a masterpiece of legal language. It laid out the loan, the contract, the payment schedule, and the total amount owed. It gave them 72 hours to respond with either full payment or an acceptable payment plan. It made clear that failure to respond would result in immediate legal action. I didn't warn them. I didn't call ahead. I wanted them to open it cold, the same way they'd delivered their refusal to me. It took 6 hours. I was picking Lily up from school when my phone started ringing. Mom. I declined the call. She called back immediately. Declined. Then my father called. Declined. Then texts started flooding in. Mom. Jessica, what is this? What have you done? A lawyer? You're suing us? Dad. This is a joke, right? Call me immediately. Mom. How could you do this to your own parents? After everything we've done for you. Tyler. Jess, WTF? Mom's having a breakdown. Dad's furious. What's going on? I silenced my phone and took Lily to get ice cream. We sat in the park and I watched her play on the swings, her laughter bright and uncomplicated. She had no idea that her mother had just declared war on her grandparents, and she wouldn't know, not until she was much older, if ever. That evening, after putting Lily to bed, I sent a single text to the family group chat. All communication regarding the loan should go through my attorney. His contact information is in the letter you received. The response was volcanic. Dad, you can't be serious. This is extortion. We're your parents. You gave us that money to help us. Now you want to destroy us over it? This is evil. Mom, we raised you. We fed you, clothed you, put a roof over your head for 18 years. And this is how you repay us? By suing us when we're struggling? You're breaking your father's heart. Tyler, this is messed up, Jess. They don't have that kind of money. You know they don't. You're going to take everything from them. Over what? Some old loan? Let it go. I read every message. I felt the familiar guilt trying to creep in. The old programming that said I was being unreasonable, that good daughters don't do things like this. But then I remembered. I remembered being told they wouldn't take care of everything for me. I remembered the $73,000 I'd given them in good faith. I remembered every broken promise to pay me back. I remembered that when I needed basic help, they refused. I typed one message. You had 4 years to make this right. You chose not to. You signed a legal contract. Now you'll honor it, one way or another. Don't contact me again unless it's through my attorney. I left the group chat. The next 72 hours were chaos. My phone rang constantly from numbers I didn't recognize. Family, friends, people from their church, even my Aunt Sharon calling to lecture me about family values. I blocked them all. Marcus sent me updates. My parents had hired an attorney, a general practice lawyer named Donald Fisk, who was clearly out of his depth in contract litigation. Their first response was to claim the loan was actually a gift, that I'd offered it freely with no expectation of repayment, and that the promissory note had been signed under duress. Marcus's response was surgical. He filed the lawsuit in civil court 3 days later, attaching every piece of evidence: the signed and notarized promissory note, the email chain where my father had explicitly discussed the repayment schedule, the text message from 2 years ago where my father had written, "We know we owe you, we just need more time." Their claim of gift was obliterated. Then came their second strategy: sympathy. My mother called Marcus's office directly, crying, claiming I was trying to give my father a heart attack, that they were elderly and on fixed income. They were 62 and 64, hardly elderly. That I was being vindictive because they couldn't let me move home. Marcus shut it down. Mrs. Brennan, I understand this is difficult, but your daughter has a legally enforceable contract. If you and your husband don't have the liquidity to pay, the court will determine what assets must be liquidated. I strongly suggest you consult with your attorney about settlement options. 1 week after filing, Marcus called me. Jessica, they've made a settlement offer. They're proposing to pay you $25,000, all they can liquidate from savings and retirement accounts without selling assets. They want 3 years to pay it, in monthly installments. That's barely a third of what they owe, I said. I know. I can push back hard, but I want to be realistic with you. If they truly don't have liquidity, we can win a judgment for the full amount, but collecting it might require forcing a sale of the restaurant or their home. That process could take years and cost you significantly in legal fees. I thought about it. About the restaurant my father loved. About the home I'd grown up in. About whether I wanted to be the daughter who destroyed all of that. Then I thought about being homeless while they refused to let me sleep in my old bedroom. I thought about the 4 years of broken promises. I thought about being told they weren't going to take care of everything for me, as if I'd been a burden instead of their savior. No, I said. I want a counteroffer. Either they pay the full $95,000 within 6 months, or they sign over the restaurant to me as payment. They can keep running it, but I own it. All profits after operating expenses go to paying down the debt until it's settled. Once it's paid off, I'll transfer it back to them. Marcus was quiet for a moment. That's aggressive. It might work. Let me draft it. The counteroffer went out the next day. Option 1. $95,000 paid in full within 6 months, in whatever installments they could manage. Option 2. Immediate transfer of restaurant ownership to me. They continue operating it, take a reasonable salary, but all remaining profits pay down the debt. Once fully repaid, ownership reverts to them. Option 3. We proceed to trial, I win a judgment, and the court forces liquidation of their assets. They had 5 days to respond. The response came on day 4. It was my mother, calling from an unknown number, so I answered thinking it was about Lily's school. "You're a monster," she hissed. The venom in her voice was shocking. An absolute monster. You would take your father's restaurant, the business he built, everything he's worked for, over money? "Mom," I started. Don't you dare try to justify this. We know what this is really about. You're punishing us for not letting you move back home. You're throwing a tantrum like a spoiled child, and you're willing to destroy your own family to get your way. I'm asking for what I'm legally owed, I said, my voice steady. You signed a contract. You took my money. You promised to pay it back. You haven't paid a single cent in 4 years. This isn't about the apartment. This is about basic honesty. We're your parents, she shrieked. We gave you life. We raised you. And you're going to take everything from us? Fine. I hope you're happy when your father has a heart attack from the stress. I hope you can live with yourself. All settlement communications should go through the attorneys, I said. Goodbye, Mom. I hung up. My hands were shaking, but not from fear. From adrenaline. From the rush of finally standing my ground. Day 5 came and went. No response from their attorney. Marcus filed a motion to proceed with discovery and set a trial date. That's when they broke. Their attorney called Marcus, and I was conferenced in. Mr. Webb, Ms. Brennan, Donald Fisk began, his voice strained. My clients have asked me to accept option 2. They'll sign over the restaurant. Full ownership transfer, Marcus clarified. With the terms as outlined, they continue operating, take reasonable salaries as determined by standard industry rates, and all net profits beyond operating costs and salaries go toward debt repayment? Yes, Fisk said quietly. They're requesting that the ownership revert to them once the debt is paid in full, as outlined. Agreed, Marcus said. We'll have the paperwork ready by end of business tomorrow. One more thing, this needs to be formalized as a secured transaction. If they default on the profit sharing or fail to maintain the business adequately, Ms. Brennan has the right to assume full control and sell the asset. There was muffled conversation on the other end. Then Fisk came back. They agree. They just want this over with. I spoke for the first time. Tell them the restaurant's books will be audited quarterly by an independent accountant. If I find they're hiding money or manipulating profits, the deal is void, and I'll pursue the full judgment plus penalties. More muffled conversation. Understood, Fisk said. We had a deal. The transfer documents were signed within 3 days. The Riverside Grill, the restaurant my father had built, the symbol of his identity and pride, was now legally mine. He and my mother could continue running it, drawing salaries of $45,000 each annually, which Marcus had researched as fair for similar restaurants. But every dollar beyond that came to me until the $95,000 debt was paid. Marcus took his contingency fee from the restaurant's equity value. It was significant, but absolutely worth it. I used part of the settlement to pay 3 months' rent on a new apartment that was ready immediately, better than my old place, in a nicer building. I put the rest in savings and an investment account, finally rebuilding the security I'd lost 5 years ago. For the first time in months, I could breathe. The fallout was immediate and brutal. Tyler sent me an email with the subject line, "Dead to me." I didn't bother opening it. I just sent it straight to trash. My Aunt Sharon called to tell me I was just like my grandmother Margaret, apparently a cold, calculating woman who'd been written out of the family history. I took it as a compliment and blocked her number. The congregation at my parents' church, where they'd apparently told a very one-sided version of events, collectively decided I was the epitome of millennial entitlement and greed. People I'd known since childhood crossed the street to avoid me. I didn't care. Lily asked innocently why we weren't going to Grandma and Grandpa's for Sunday dinner anymore. I told her they were very busy with the restaurant right now, and we'd see them when things settled down. She accepted this and moved on, because kids are resilient when their immediate world is stable. Brian, to his credit, was quietly supportive. I know your parents, he said when I told him everything. I know how they treated you. If you did this, you had good reason. Don't let anyone make you feel guilty for protecting yourself. I threw myself into rebuilding. The new apartment was a fresh start. I'd been promoted at work, finally, after years of being overlooked. I started therapy to process years of being the family fixer, the invisible, responsible daughter. I started dating again, cautiously. Life was mine again. 3 months after the restaurant transfer, I received a letter. Real mail, handwritten address, my father's distinctive scrawl. I almost threw it away, but curiosity won. I opened it. Jessica, it began. The handwriting was shaky, less confident than usual. I don't know if you'll read this. I don't know if you'll care, but I need to write it anyway. You were right. Your mother and I, we took advantage of you for years. We treated you like a bank, like a resource to be tapped whenever we needed it. We told ourselves it was okay because you were successful. You were strong. You didn't need us the way Tyler did. But that wasn't fair. You needed us too. You needed parents who supported you, who celebrated you, who didn't always compare you to your brother. You needed us to honor our commitments to you the same way we expected you to honor yours. When the restaurant was failing, you saved us. You gave us everything you had, and we promised to pay you back. We signed papers saying we would, and then we just didn't. We made excuses. We convinced ourselves you didn't really need it. We rewrote history until we believed the loan was actually a gift. When you asked to stay with us, when you were in a genuine crisis, we should have opened our home immediately. Instead, we hid behind excuses about our routine, our space, our comfort. We abandoned you when you needed us most, after you had saved us when we needed you most. I see it now. I see how wrong we were. Your mother and I have had some very difficult conversations these past few months. We've had to look at our patterns, how we treated you versus Tyler, how we took and gave nothing back. Tyler moved out. We told him he needed to get his own place, get a real job, support himself. He's 34 years old. It was past time. He's furious with us, says we're punishing him because of you. Maybe we are, but mostly we're just done enabling him to be a child. The restaurant is running better than it has in years, actually. Knowing that the profits go to you, that we're finally repaying our debt, it's motivated us to cut waste, improve efficiency, work harder. It's like we needed the structure, the accountability. I know I don't have the right to ask for your forgiveness. I know what we did, what I did. It broke something between us that might never be fixed. But I want you to know that I see it now. I see what I took from you. I see how I failed you as a father. You deserved better. You deserved parents who were as reliable for you as you were for us. And I'm sorry. I'm so deeply, profoundly sorry. If you ever want to talk, I'm here. If you don't, I understand. But I needed you to know. You were right to do what you did. You were right to demand what you were owed. You were right to set a boundary. I'm proud of you, even though I have no right to be. You're stronger than I ever was. Your father, Thomas. I read the letter 3 times. I felt something shift in my chest, a slight thaw in the ice I'd built around my heart. Not forgiveness, not yet, but acknowledgement that change might be possible. I didn't respond immediately. I needed time to process, to think, to decide if I even wanted to leave that door open. A week later, I sent a brief email. Dad, I received your letter. Thank you for the honesty. I'm not ready for a relationship right now. I need more time and space, but I appreciate you taking accountability. Focus on running the restaurant well and paying down the debt. Maybe in the future, we can talk, but not yet. His response came within an hour. That's more than I deserve. Thank you for even considering it. I'll prove to you that we can change. I promise. I closed the email and let myself cry for the first time in months. Not from sadness, but from relief. From the realization that I'd done something incredibly difficult and survived it. I'd set a boundary, demanded respect, and didn't let guilt manipulate me into backing down. 6 months later, Lily and I had settled into a comfortable routine. The new apartment felt like home. I'd been promoted again at work, was leading major projects, was being recognized for my expertise. Lily was thriving in her new school, had made good friends, was as bright and funny as ever. One Saturday morning, my phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. When I opened it, I realized I hadn't deleted it. I'd just removed the contact name. It was my mother. "Jessica, I wanted you to hear this from us first. The restaurant had its best quarter in 5 years. The payment to you this quarter is $8,000. We're actually going to pay this loan off ahead of schedule. We're running the business the way we should have been all along. Also, your father and I found a financial counselor. We're learning to budget, to save, to be more responsible. We should have done this years ago. I know we don't have a relationship right now. I know we hurt you terribly, but I wanted you to know we're trying. We're really trying to be better. If you ever want to bring Lily by the restaurant for dinner, as our guest, no pressure or expectations, we'd love to see her. And you, but only if and when you're ready." I stared at the message for a long time. $8,000. They were actually doing it. They were actually honoring the agreement, running the business properly, paying me back. I showed the message to my therapist at our next session. "What do you think?" she asked. "I think," I said slowly, "that maybe people can change. If they want to badly enough. If they face real consequences and choose growth instead of blame. Do you want to respond?" "Not yet. But maybe. Eventually." Another 6 months passed. The quarterly payments kept coming, steadily rising as they improved the restaurant's efficiency. $8,000, then $9,500, then $11,000. At this rate, the debt would be paid off in just over 2 years, far ahead of schedule. I received occasional updates from my father, always respectful, never demanding. We upgraded the kitchen equipment, should improve efficiency more. We hired a new sous chef, service is faster now. We're getting great reviews online, business is growing. Tyler apparently had gotten a job in sales and moved into his own apartment. We weren't in contact, but my parents mentioned it in passing, said he was finally growing up. 1 year after the lawsuit settled, I received an invitation. Not to their house, they'd learned that boundary, but to a family dinner at the restaurant, on a Monday when they were closed to the public. Just them, me, and Lily, if I wanted to bring her. No pressure, just an opportunity to talk if you're ready. If not, we understand. I thought about it for a week. I talked to my therapist. I talked to Brian. I even talked to Lily in age-appropriate terms, about how sometimes adults have disagreements and need time apart, but sometimes they can find their way back to each other. I RSVP'd yes. When we arrived, my father answered the door. He looked older, thinner, but healthier somehow. His eyes were clear. "Jessica," he said softly. "Lily, thank you for coming." Lily, who had a child's capacity for forgiveness when adults act right, smiled shyly. "Hi, Grandpa." I saw his eyes fill with tears. "Hi, sweetheart. I missed you." My mother appeared from the kitchen. She looked different, too. Less polished, more genuine somehow. She didn't rush forward or make a scene. She just said quietly, "It's good to see you both." We sat at a table by the window, the river visible beyond. The restaurant was beautiful in the evening light, and I could see the improvements they'd made. New tables, updated lighting, a refreshed menu displayed on the wall. The dinner was awkward at first, careful, but it was real. More real than any interaction we'd had in years. My father told me about the business improvements, showed me the quarterly reports with pride. My mother asked about my work, about Lily's school, and actually listened to the answers. As we were leaving, my father walked us to the car. He knelt to Lily's level. "Your mom is an amazing person," he told her. "Strong and smart and brave. I hope you know how lucky you are to have her." Lily nodded seriously. I know, Grandpa. He stood up, looking at me. I meant what I wrote in the letter. We failed you. But we're trying to do better. Not to get the restaurant back. That's not what this is about. Just to be better people, better parents. Even if it's too late for you to want us in your life, we needed to change. I didn't have words. I just nodded. We drove home in comfortable silence. Lily chattered about how good the food was, how Grandma had made her favorite dessert. And I thought about forgiveness, about how it's not a switch you flip but a slow thaw, about how you can set boundaries and still leave room for growth, about how demanding respect doesn't mean you have to be alone forever. That night, I sent a text to my mother. Thank you for dinner. Lily had a wonderful time. Let's plan another visit next month. Her response was immediate. We'd love that. Thank you for giving us a chance. 2 years later, the loan was paid in full. Every cent, plus interest. My parents had transformed the restaurant, had built it into something more successful than it had ever been. The quarterly payments had grown from $8,000 to nearly $15,000 as they'd cut costs, improved service, and grown the customer base. Marcus prepared the paperwork to transfer ownership back to them, as agreed. I met with my parents at his office for the signing. It was cordial, professional, but there was something else there too. Mutual respect. Jessica, my father said as he signed the final document, I want you to know something. Getting this restaurant back, it feels good. But what feels better is knowing we earned it back. We didn't make excuses. We didn't hide. We did the work, paid our debt, and proved we could be trusted again. I'm proud of you both, I said, and I meant it. You turned the business around. You honored your commitment. That takes strength. My mother's eyes filled with tears. We're the ones who are proud of you. You didn't let us take advantage of you. You stood up for yourself even when it was hard. Even when we tried to make you feel guilty. You taught us that love without respect is just manipulation. That was a hard lesson, but we needed it. The restaurant was officially theirs again. The debt was settled, but something had fundamentally changed. I wasn't the family bank anymore. I wasn't the daughter who fixed everything and asked for nothing. I was a person with boundaries, with self-respect, with the proven willingness to enforce consequences. My parents became regular but respectful, parts of Lily's life. Sunday dinners at the restaurant became a monthly tradition. No pressure, no guilt, just genuine time together. They asked before offering advice. They respected my parenting choices. They showed up for Lily's school events but didn't overstep. Tyler and I slowly rebuilt a relationship too. He'd apparently had his own reckoning during all of this, realized he'd been enabled his entire life, and started therapy to address it. We met for coffee one day, awkward at first but honest. I was angry at you, he admitted, for the lawsuit, for taking the restaurant. But my therapist helped me see that you did what I should have done years ago. You held them accountable, and it forced them to hold me accountable too. I hated it at the time, but I needed it. I'm glad you're doing better, I said. And I meant it. My career continued to grow. I made partner at the firm. Lily continued to thrive. I dated, had relationships, was open to finding something real, but wasn't desperate for it. My life was full and meaningful on its own terms. The real resolution came 3 years after the lawsuit, at Lily's 13th birthday party. I'd organized it at a local park, and I'd invited my parents, nervous about how it would go. They arrived early to help set up, brought a thoughtful gift that was exactly what Lily wanted, and integrated seamlessly into the celebration. At one point, my father pulled me aside. Jessica, I know I say this every time I see you, but I need to say it again. Thank you for not giving up on us. Thank you for setting the boundary that forced us to change. We would have kept going the way we were, taking advantage, making excuses. You stopped the cycle. You stopped it. I corrected. I just demanded what I was owed. You're the ones who chose to actually change instead of just hiding assets or fighting dirty. You could have made this so much worse. You chose growth instead. We chose it because we finally saw what we'd been doing, what we'd been to you, and we couldn't live with that anymore. He paused. watching Lily laugh with her friends. She's lucky to have you as a mother. You're teaching her something we never taught you, that her worth isn't in what she can give others, but in who she is. I felt tears prick my eyes. That's the goal. The moral of this story isn't about money or lawsuits or revenge. It's about knowing your worth and refusing to accept less. It's about understanding that enabling destructive patterns, even with people you love, helps no one. It's about the hard truth that sometimes the most loving thing you can do is enforce a consequence. I didn't destroy my family by demanding repayment. I saved it. I forced accountability that should have existed all along. I stopped being the invisible daughter who fixed everything and asked for nothing, and I became a person worthy of respect. My parents paid back $95,000 over 2 years. But what they really paid back was their integrity. They rebuilt trust through action, not words. They proved that people can change if they choose to. And me? I rebuilt my self-respect. I taught my daughter that you don't have to set yourself on fire to keep others warm. I learned that family doesn't get a free pass to use you, and that real love includes respect. The ending isn't fairy tale perfect. There are still awkward moments, old patterns that try to resurface, boundaries that need reinforcing. But there's something more valuable than perfection. There's truth. There's mutual respect. There's a relationship built on honesty instead of obligation. When my father mocked me with "we're not going to take care of everything for you," he thought he was dismissing me. Instead, he freed me. He freed me to finally demand what I deserved, to stop accepting scraps, to stop being grateful for the bare minimum. My response? Perfect. Then pay off the loan you took out. Wasn't about revenge. It was about clarity. It was about finally standing in my power and refusing to be diminished. That's the legacy I'm building. Not the money reclaimed, though that helped. Not the restaurant reclaimed, though it forced necessary change. But a legacy of self-respect, of boundaries, of teaching my daughter that her worth is inherent, not earned through service. 4 years after everything began, I look at my life and feel proud. I have a career I love. I have a daughter who is confident and kind. I have parents who finally respect me and are present in healthy ways. I have a life built on my terms, where I'm valued for who I am, not what I can provide. When people hear this story, they sometimes say I was harsh, that I should have been more understanding, more forgiving, more patient. But those people weren't there when I was homeless and desperate, being told I was a burden. They weren't there for the years of being taken for granted, of promises broken, of being treated as less than while watching my brother be enabled. The truth is, sometimes you have to fight for respect. Sometimes you have to make people uncomfortable to force change. Sometimes the most loving thing you can do is refuse to participate in dysfunction. I saved my parents from bankruptcy once, but when I demanded they honor their debt to me, I saved something more important. I saved my self-worth. I saved my daughter from learning the same patterns. I saved the possibility of a real, honest relationship built on mutual respect instead of obligation and guilt. That's the victory. Not the money, not the restaurant, not the legal win, but the knowledge that I am worth fighting for, that my needs matter, that I deserve respect, honesty, and reciprocity in all my relationships, even with family, especially with family. And now, when Lily asks me for advice about handling difficult people, I tell her, know your worth, set your boundaries. Don't accept less than you deserve. And if someone takes advantage of your kindness, don't be afraid to demand accountability. Not from anger, but from self-respect. She's listening. She's learning. And the cycle is broken. That's my legacy. That's my win. And it's worth more than any amount of money could ever be.